I'm going to talk to you a bit about the background to the IFB and why it was set up. I'm going to talk through the strategic review and consultation that we did last year, which talks about how the IFB evolves and the commercial insurance elements that are a common thread through this, and then go on to essentially what we're doing this year and how that touches on some of the commercial insurance products. When I talk about the IFB is a not-for-profit organisation that was set up by insurers. So we're not an individual company, we're owned and operated by insurers, so we essentially represent the industry. And what we've been able to achieve, what the industry's been able to achieve, is recognising that there's a problem they can't solve in isolation. They have to work together to solve it. So some really interesting elements I think will carry over. The problem we had was we saw a lot of individual claims being presented to us that had a number of similar traits, and we knew they weren't isolated incidents, but they were connected to one another. We started, when we recognised this as a problem, we started to work together collaboratively through not just insurers, but through the supply chain, through defendant lawyers and investigators. And we pulled some of this knowledge together. So rather than try and defeat an individual claim, we'd put those 30 claims together and we'd try and have some kind of civil class action. The issue we had was we didn't know whether those 30 were 30 of 30 or whether they were 30 of 300. So we were only ever reacting to the problem. So the concept behind the IFB was, if we pool all of the industry data together, if we then analyse that data, we should be able to find the trends and patterns that the fraudsters are trying to hide from us. Because essentially, what the guys are trying to do, what the claimants and the fraudsters are trying to do, is present an individual incident to make it look genuine, but in reality it's not. It is part of a criminal enterprise. And the IFB's job is not to tackle those individual claims and policies, but to help bring the insurers together to share information and alert them to those individual incidents, with a view that we collectively then find the organisers and the professional enablers that are behind these, and we take those out, and there is then a disruption effect. So rather than just react to the problem, we become proactive. In the last couple of years, we've also started to explore the issues that the industry has with what we call ghost broking, which essentially is people who will sell false insurance, and that's done in a number of ways. Sometimes the policies that are allegedly sold are entirely fictitious, but it also touches on commercial insurance, because a lot of the ghost brokers are exploiting fleet and motor trade policies in order to get the vehicle onto the motor insurers database to avoid detection by the police. And a significant step forward we took last year was we launched something called the Insurance Fraud Register, which is the industry's first database of proven fraudsters. I think if you ask members of the public, they probably think we had this years ago. But in reality, having a database of proven fraudsters brings a very real deterrent, because it's very easy for one person to go from one insurer to another. And agreeing to have an insurance fraud register is a significant step forward for the industry. Now, having a simple database of proven fraudsters might sound like a very simple thing, but getting an insurance industry to collectively agree what the criteria would be, what the liabilities would be, and the whole framework to do that, to some of the comments we've heard earlier, that takes a tremendous amount of transparency and trust for insurers to be able to rely upon the data that they're putting in, and also the data that they're actually using. So having a proven fraud database has been a significant step forward for us. So if I take you back to the beginning, why the IFB was set up. The IFB was set up because 10 years ago, the industry believed the biggest fraud-related risk that we had was that we knew we had a problem with organised motor, but we didn't know quite how to deal with it, didn't know how big the problem was. The biggest fraud-related threats that the industry now believe we have is that we have no visibility of or management of organised fraud risks beyond motor, and there is a real risk that, having made the motor market from a fraudster's perspective much harder to obtain money from, if we don't have similarly robust controls in other lines, then we're simply going to displace the fraudster from one product line to another, and that's not our aim. Our aim is to make the insurance market an unpleasant place for fraudsters to be, so they go away and annoy banks or somebody else, to be quite honest. The second risk is we have no coherent strategy to manage fraud intelligence. So in a nutshell, the strategic review last year identified that the fraud-related risks that the IFB was set up to tackle have evolved, and therefore the IFB needs to evolve also. So we are currently working on a process to evolve the IFB from what was a tactical response to deal with one type of fraud to become an organisation which is able to strategically manage fraud risks across all product types and to manage the grey data piece.